You did not deserve the silence. You did not deserve the betrayal, the confusion, or the nights where your chest felt heavier than your own body. And yet, somehow, this heartbreak became the experience that changed you forever. There is a strange kind of pain that arrives without warning. One day someone is your home, and the next they become a memory you replay like a haunting song. You keep asking yourself the same question over and over again. Why would life bring someone so close to me, only to take them away? But maybe the real tragedy is not that they left. Maybe the real tragedy would have been meeting them too late to discover who you truly are beneath your attachment. Because heartbreak does something success never can. It removes the illusion. It forces you to sit alone with your thoughts after years of running from yourself. It exposes the emotional hunger you disguised as love. It reveals how much of your happiness was secretly built inside another human being. Carl Jung once said, "There is no coming to consciousness without pain." And maybe that is why some people enter your life not to stay, but to awaken the version of you that comfort could never create. Tonight, I want you to forget the shallow advice people give after heartbreak. This is not a video about moving on. This is about understanding why the pain that almost destroyed you may secretly become the reason you finally transform. Part 1. The person who broke you also revealed you. There is a moment after heartbreak that feels terrifyingly quiet. No messages, no late-night conversations, no emotional certainty. Just you, sitting alone with thoughts you spent years avoiding. Most people believe heartbreak is only about another person leaving, but psychologically, heartbreak is deeper than abandonment. What truly hurts is the collapse of identity. You are not only grieving them, you are grieving the version of yourself that existed with them. Think about it carefully. Maybe you changed your personality to feel loved. Maybe you ignored disrespect because you feared loneliness more than pain. Maybe you built your future around someone who never truly planned to stay. And when they disappeared, it felt as though your entire emotional world collapsed overnight. This is why heartbreak feels physical. Studies in psychology show emotional rejection activates the same regions of the brain as physical pain. Your mind literally experiences emotional loss like a wound. That is why your chest aches, why food loses taste, why even ordinary mornings suddenly feel empty. But here is the hidden truth nobody tells you. The relationship was not only revealing who they were, it was revealing who you were becoming. Friedrich Nietzsche once wrote, "Invisible threads are the strongest ties," and heartbreak cuts those invisible threads all at once. Suddenly, you are forced to confront your dependence, your fears, your unresolved childhood wounds, and the emotional patterns you inherited long before you met them. Maybe you chased unavailable people because love in your childhood felt conditional. Maybe you tolerated emotional distance because you were taught that love must be earned through suffering. Maybe you confused emotional intensity with genuine connection. Heartbreak exposes these truths brutally. And although that realization hurts, it is also the beginning of awakening. Because the day you finally see your emotional patterns clearly is the day you stop becoming a prisoner of them. The heartbreak was not only destroying an illusion about them, it was destroying the illusion you carried about yourself. And sometimes, that destruction is the first honest step toward becoming whole again. Part 2. The dangerous addiction hidden inside love. Heartbreak becomes unbearable when your mind turns love into survival. That is why some people cannot let go even after being betrayed, ignored, or emotionally destroyed. Logic tells them to walk away, but emotionally they keep returning to the same pain like a starving person searching for crumbs. Because attachment can become chemical. When someone gives you affection, attention, validation, your brain releases dopamine, the same neurotransmitter connected to pleasure and addiction. Over time, their messages become emotional rewards. Their presence becomes relief. Their approval becomes emotional oxygen. And the terrifying part is this: the less consistently they love you, the more addicted you can become. Psychologists call this intermittent reinforcement. It is the same mechanism used in gambling addiction. When love becomes unpredictable, sometimes warm, sometimes cold, the brain becomes obsessed with chasing emotional certainty. That is why toxic relationships often feel impossible to leave. You are not only attached to the person, you're attached to the hope of becoming emotionally safe again. This explains why heartbreak can make intelligent people act irrationally. You replay old conversations. You stalk their social media, hoping to feel connected for 1 second. You romanticize the good memories while minimizing the disrespect. Your mind becomes trapped between reality and fantasy. But here is the painful awakening. Many people are not in love with the person. They are in love with the emotional escape the person provided. The late-night conversations distracted you from loneliness. The affection distracted you from self-doubt. The relationship distracted you from the emptiness you secretly carried long before they arrived. That is why their absence now feels unbearable. Because silence forces you to meet yourself without distraction. Carl Jung believed that people often search for someone else to complete the parts of themselves they refuse to confront alone. And heartbreak becomes devastating because it removes the emotional mask, hiding those inner wounds. But this pain contains a strange gift. For the first time in your life, you are being forced to separate love from dependency. Real love does not make you abandon yourself to keep someone close. Real love does not make you anxious every hour. Real love does not require you to beg for emotional consistency. And maybe this heartbreak entered your life because your soul could no longer survive confusing emotional addiction with genuine connection. One day, you will realize something shocking. You were never asking them to save you. You were asking them to help you escape yourself, and healing begins the moment you stop running. Part 3. Why losing them was actually protecting your future. At first, heartbreak feels like punishment. You replay the memories endlessly, convincing yourself that if you had said the right words, loved harder, been more patient, maybe they would have stayed. Your mind creates alternate realities where everything works out differently, but healing changes your perspective in a terrifying way. Eventually, you stop asking, "Why did they leave?" And you begin asking, "Why was I trying so hard to keep someone who could hurt me so deeply?" That question changes everything, because many people are not mourning love. They are mourning potential. They are grieving the future they imagined. The late-night dreams, the imagined family, the fantasy of finally being chosen completely by someone. But potential is dangerous. Potential keeps people trapped in relationships where respect disappeared long ago. It convinces them to fall in love with promises instead of patterns, and patterns always reveal the truth louder than words. Maya Angelou once said, "When someone shows you who they are, believe them the first time." Yet heartbreak often begins because we refuse to believe what we already felt deep inside. You noticed the inconsistency. You noticed the emotional distance. You noticed how they only loved you fully when it was convenient. But you ignored your intuition because loneliness can make red flags look like emotional challenges to overcome. And this is where heartbreak becomes transformation, because losing them may have protected you from a future version of pain far worse than temporary grief. Imagine spending 10 more years begging for emotional reassurance. Imagine building a life around someone emotionally unavailable. Imagine slowly shrinking your personality just to avoid conflict or abandonment. That is not love. That is survival. Sometimes life removes people because your future self cannot grow inside the environment your present self keeps tolerating. The pain of separation feels unbearable now because your heart is focused on what ended. But your future may one day thank this moment for saving you from a life built on emotional instability. This is why philosopher Albert Camus believed that suffering forces humans to confront truth directly. Comfort often keeps people asleep, pain wakes them up. And maybe that is exactly what this heartbreak was. An awakening, not punishment, not failure, not proof that you were unworthy, but a brutal redirection away from the version of your future that would have quietly destroyed your spirit. One day, you may look back at the person who broke your heart and realize they did not ruin your life. They interrupted a path that was never meant for you. Part 4. The final truth about why this pain will change you forever. There comes a strange moment during healing when the sadness no longer feels sharp. It becomes quieter, softer. Not because you stopped caring, but because you finally stopped fighting reality, and that is the beginning of inner peace. Most people think healing means forgetting someone, but true healing is deeper than memory loss. It is emotional rebirth. It is the moment your identity no longer depends on who stays and who leaves. For a long time, you probably believed love meant attachment. You believed being chosen by someone determined your worth. Their attention became your validation. Their absence became your insecurity. But heartbreak slowly teaches a painful wisdom. People can love you and still not be capable of loving you correctly. That realization changes the way you see the world. You stop chasing people who give mixed signals. You stop begging for bare minimum affection. You stop abandoning your self-respect just to avoid loneliness. Because pain matures you in ways comfort never can. The ancient philosopher Lao Tzu once wrote, "When I let go of what I am, I become what I might be." And heartbreak forces that surrender. It destroys the emotional identity built around another person so that a stronger self can finally emerge underneath the ruins. This is why some of the strongest people you meet are those who suffered deeply. Pain sharpened their awareness. Betrayal taught them boundaries. Loss taught them independence. Silence taught them how to survive alone. And perhaps the most beautiful transformation happens quietly. One morning you wake up, and their name no longer controls your emotions. The songs stop hurting. The memories stop haunting you. You no longer crave closure because your healing itself became the closure. You finally understand that not everyone who are and some arrive simply to awaken the version of you hidden beneath emotional dependency. That does not make the heartbreak fair, but it makes it meaningful. So if your heart is still hurting tonight, remember this. The pain you survived is shaping a wiser version of you, a version less desperate for validation, less afraid of abandonment, less willing to settle for half-hearted love. And maybe years from now, you will look back at this heartbreak not as the moment your life collapsed, but as the moment your real life finally began. Because sometimes the heartbreak you never deserved becomes the transformation you desperately needed. If this video spoke to a part of you that still hurts silently, then maybe your healing has already begun. Not because the pain disappeared, but because you finally started understanding it. Leave a comment below with one lesson heartbreak taught you about yourself. And if you are still rebuilding your heart piece by piece, subscribe. Because some journeys are easier when you realize you are not walking through them alone.